Even theme park workers get frustrated sometimes. This video shows a Disney worker in the character of Pluto ferociously chasing a young boy in circles. It looked as if they were playing around at first, until the innocent boy began to cry for help. As Pluto was about to reach the child, an adult who was paying attention intervened, grabbing his hand and slowing him down, allowing the frightened boy to escape. A crowd quickly gathered at the scene, bewildered by the unexpected event. Pluto swiftly returned to character, engaging playfully once more. With a gesture of peace, he exited the scene, though surprised parents continued to film him, much to his frustration. The man who dressed up as a character became agitated with the visitors' persistent filming and eventually left the scene, announcing that he was quitting. During a performance, the atmosphere was joyful as the characters danced and the audience watched happily, but then something unusual was captured on a phone recording. One of the characters in the front appeared to be in distress. Initially, no one thought anything about it, and it even seemed like part of the performance, so the people were engrossed, but things got worse as the character started to fall gradually. But as she collapsed, another character and officials quickly rushed to her aid. They lifted her up and assisted her out of the performance area. One should be careful in a place like Disneyland or get hit by a stray hand. In this video snippet, a little girl is seen having fun dancing, but she subconsciously moves too close to an employee who accidentally elbows her in the face.
In the pink, jumping, dancing, having fun. She gets a little too close to the Disney worker while he's doing his dance routine, and the little girl takes an elbow to the face and goes down hard. The mother said the
mother mentioned that the employee apologized and checked on her daughter's well-being. She also stated that her child had a purple eye for a few days due to the impact. However, she was unsatisfied, so she expressed disappointment that Disney did not initially respond to the video or her emails.
She sent them. We reached out to Disney for a comment. A spokesperson sent this statement saying, "We just became aware of the incident and are looking into."
After the mother contacted Disney, they acknowledged the incident, eventually reaching out to the family. The video of the accident was then taken down.
The video on YouTube was actually taken down. The mother of the child is now back in Louisiana.
Fire is not a respecter of people, and it can break out anywhere. A normal day turned into horror for visitors and everyone present at the park on this day. To say they were all frightened would not be an overstatement. There was a massive fire outburst on Tom Sawyer's Island. A camera captured flames shooting up, and eyewitnesses confirmed that it happened shortly after the commencement of the Mac show. A lot of guests had to be evacuated immediately in order to avoid losing their lives.
Unforeseen circumstances. Thank
you. Some people can be really unreasonable sometimes. This footage was captured by an upset customer who accuses a Disneyland staffer of misconduct.
Look at this. Look at the Disney service here.
While holding his child, the man firmly demands that the employee reopen the closed merry-go-round for his son. The employee calmly explains that reopening it would not be possible as it would prevent them from going home on time.
How only is it going right now? Thomas, you want to go on the merry-go-round? Tell him. We couldn't find the exit or entrance.
If we don't stop the line, I would never be able to go.
This customer is, however, unhappy with the response, so he insists, explaining that he arrived late only because he had difficulty finding the entrance. Another employee asks him to stop recording and leave.
Where's the spirit? Come on, he's 5.
I'm not allowed. I can call security and stop it.
Despite their efforts, the man continues to argue, claiming they are being rude and all he wants is for his 5-year-old son to ride the merry-go-round. The employee remains composed, trying to reason with him, but he seems indifferent to her explanation.
I'm sorry.
They're gonna run the ride again.
It does not matter. It's closed.
Wow. They're calling security.
If I let you in, I have to let everyone else
You
in.
should fill the last
I'm
ride.
tired. I deserve to go home, don't I?
You're gonna run the ride again regardless.
It does not matter.
The man stubbornly refused to leave and only did so when the staff called security for assistance, prompting him to leave with his son.
Look at it.
Safety is important, regardless of what one's job is. An incident happened at Disneyland to emphasize this point.
We're working to learn more about a fire at the Magic Kingdom.
This incident involved a serious injury to a cast member due to a fire outbreak at the Magic Kingdom. The emergency crew responded swiftly, transporting the injured cast member to the hospital. Although the fire was extinguished by the time they arrived, it had already caused significant damage to the property.
One cast member was taken to the hospital. This video shows emergency crews driving down Main Street, USA. Officials say the fire was out when they got there.
In the history of Disneyland, some gruesome deaths have been recorded. In September 2000, the family of Brandon Zucker decided to go on one last ride before they called it a day and left the arena. So they decided to hop on the Roger Rabbit's cartoon spin, which was built 6 years earlier.
It was coming to an end when the happy attendees decided they would go on one last ride to round off the day. The ride they decided on was the Roger Rabbit.
The idea of the ride is that one rents a taxicab for a tour of Toontown, and then as the cab gets underway, weasels throw a slippery ball, which will send the cab to a more uncontrollable spin, and the cab will keep spinning 360 degrees.
2 people. The cabs would then exit the loading area once the traffic light had turned green, and guests would race around Toontown as their cab would spin 360 degrees.
Just after 10 p.m., Brandon, a little boy who was wearing tennis shoes, jumped into the taxi cab with his 6-year-old brother Nicholas and his mother Victoria, who was in charge of the wheel. Brandon sat at the passenger side in front, while his father and grandma sat at the back of the cab.
Brandon was sat near the opening on the passenger side door. Brandon's father David and grandmother Jean Kurland followed them and were sat in the car behind.
After taking off, the tragedy happened. Brandon fell out of the cab when his mom bent down to pick up something. His father, who saw all that happened from the back, stated that Brandon didn't even have time to scream out for help before he went underneath the cab that was running uncontrollably. They tried all they could to get him out, but it was all to no avail, and Brandon was looking lifeless.
In the Bull in a China Shop section of the ride. He tried to lift the car off of Brandon, but it wouldn't budge. At this point, Brandon was not moving.
The attendant then sensed something was wrong and quickly shut off the ride. They quickly rushed to help Brandon, while some others called 911. Others joined to help him, but he still seemed to be trapped.
She did check for a pulse, but she couldn't find one. The 10 people attempted to lift the cab off of Brandon, but were unsuccessful, and Brandon remained trapped.
After getting help, he was rushed to the hospital. He survived, but had a ruptured diaphragm, liver, and spleen. He also sustained brain damage and spent more than a month in a drug-induced coma. He was in and out of hospitals for about 8 years before he later passed away.
In accidents, and also gave the state power to investigate and order repairs. The state ruled that Disneyland staff failed to properly load Brandon onto.
The state faulted Disney for the death of Brandon because they stated that the staff failed to properly loop Brandon to the seat before the ride, and also stated that there should have been sensors on each car to prevent such happening. Disneyland got sued by his family members because of the expensive medical bills they had to pay over the years.
Sued by the Zuckers, who settled for an unknown sum to help pay for his expensive medical treatment. Brandon then spent the next 8 years of his life in and out of hospital.
His mother stated that he battled for a very long time and they did all they could to fully bring him back to life. Despite all they did, he still died at the age of 13, and he died in his mother's arms. His mother stated that for all the years that he had been in the hospital, she had been grieving, and she declared how sweet he was as a child. After his death, Disney sympathized with his family.
In Orange County, California, Disney spokeswoman Susie Brown released a statement saying, "We are saddened to learn of the passing of Brandon Zucker."
In this unusual video, someone is recording a Disney worker dressed as a Marvel character when something creepy happens.
See if you can make sense of what happens next.
Just as the character holds the hand of a young fangirl, a mysterious man in pink suddenly appears out of nowhere.
Your thoughts on this one in the comments down below.
Amusement park accidents aren't uncommon, just as they are dangerous. And they're usually worse when they involve kids.
Bu gerizekalılar buna bindi. Az önce ben de bindim. Şimdi başlıyorlar. Midem bulandı. Çok korkutucu. Titredim.
This next clip shows a number of children having a jolly time on a giant merry-go-round as it swings back and forth. One can hear their laughter, showing just how much they are enjoying themselves.
Çıkarıyorlar böyle. Sağa çıkarıyorlar. En orta. Arkadaşlar çok korkutucu. Sakın siz...
All of a sudden, the seats snapped from the pole all at once, and the children, still strapped to the seats, are sent flipping off and landing upside down. One can only hope there isn't any pointed object at the spot they landed.
Arkadaşlar kaza! 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 Kaza!
Whether there are ghosts at Disneyland is a debate that has gone on for a while now. CCTV surveillance captured what seemed to favor this argument. What initially seemed to be a peaceful night took a strange turn when an unexpected movement was detected. An eerie figure emerged, walking in the dark. Its reflection blended with the lights, giving it a ghostly appearance. The figure kept disappearing and reappearing as it walked. It strolled down the pathway, passing effortlessly through locked gates, and even appeared to walk on water. A truly chilling sight. This next clip is absolutely terrifying, so much so that it would send chills down your spine. The incident happened in Orlando. A very high drop tower can be seen with the ride dropping at a high speed. When it was still some feet away from the ground, one of the riders, a 14-year-old boy, slipped from the restraint, falling straight to the ground. He hit the ground with a thud and remained still. The other riders became extremely agitated, and when the ride finally reached the ground, one of them could not wait to free himself. The moment he was free, he packed his things and hurriedly left as park employees came to check on the victim. In the city of Chester, United Kingdom, a fairground ride fell apart, and the resulting effect was absolutely frightening. As the people at the park watched those on the ride enjoying themselves on the weird-looking Ferris wheel, something snapped, and one of the seat's restraint came loose, sending the person on it flying off the ride. The victim landed a considerable distance away. Life or death was unknown at first, but reports are that the person was badly injured and had to be hospitalized. The questionable thing is why they didn't stop the ride after the unfortunate accident. Now let's go to China. In a place called Ningbo on the 28th of January 2023, when the rest of the world was still having the feeling of New Year, a man almost lost his leg to an amusement ride. The video shows two people on a giant swing and one man by himself on another. While the first swing was moving at a modest speed, the man was going crazy on the other. Just then, one of the handles of the swing snapped, and the man appeared to have crushed his right leg hard on one of the irons. One can clearly see his right foot dangling loosely. Sometimes fights break out for completely meaningless reasons, and this sudden brawl at Disney World is one of them.
At Magic Kingdom. It's crazy. You pay to take your kids to the most...
A heated brawl is cited, and everyone has something to say about it. A stranger confirmed that everyone seemed to be out of their mind after witnessing the pandemic.
...place in the world, and then they have to stand and watch other people photo for a photo. It's just ridiculous.
What happened was that both families wanted to take a beautiful shot at the same spot, but no one wanted the other to go first. They started punching themselves and screaming.
In a chaotic scene, you can see deputies on the ground arresting one man. They say an argument over a picture started it all.
The sheriff's department rushed over there to settle the fight and find out what really happened. It was then that they confirmed the brawl was over, taking pictures at the anniversary symbol.
It's a bad picture for someone who got no picture.
Your kids aren't supposed to think that happens anywhere, let alone in Disney.
A violent male was caught on camera, but so many people were fighting women in Disneyland. He is seen repeatedly punching women in the middle of the park. It happened as a result of an argument between family members taking the wrong turn.
This was the scene last night in Toon.
A woman is seen spitting in the man's face, and he retaliates by punching her in the face hard and continuously hitting her. The same guy later accuses another relative of hitting his mother, and then he reacts by punching her too.
Argument between family members escalated into a full-on brawl. We watch as
the police immediately step in and escort them out. Later news gotten from Disney was that they do not condone such acts.
Retaliates by punching her repeatedly, later punching other women. Moments later, that same man accused...
On September 5th, 2003, something tragic happened on the Big Thunder Mountain roller coaster, and it took the life of Marcelo Torres. The painful part was when investigators noticed that the death should have been prevented by taking proper caution.
On the 5th of September 2003, disaster struck at Disneyland on the Big Thunder Mountain roller coaster, in an incident that sadly resulted in the death.
On that fateful day, sometime in the morning, Marcelo was seated right next to the center behind the locomotive, and his two friends sat down directly behind him. Soon the ride took off, and after a while the wheels derailed and slammed into the brakes on the floor between the rails. This impact caused the locomotive's front to rise and its nose to drop. When the front hit brake 4, The back shot up and hit the tunnel ceiling.
Impact forced the rear of the locomotive up and its nose down. When the front of the locomotive struck brake 4, the back shot upwards towards the ceiling.
The locomotive then crashed down onto the first passenger car, crushing the car's frame. The locomotive's weight fell onto Marcelo Torres, crushing his chest and pinning him to his seat. Despite the paramedics' efforts, Marcelo died at the scene. 10 others were injured, with some managing to evacuate and others sent to the hospital.
He was, however, still alive, but trapped in his seat. Despite paramedics' best efforts, he eventually bled out on the scene.
In this next clip, a man who innocently tried to save a dog in an amusement park ended up having what was probably the worst day of his life. The clip shows a rotor moving back and forth at a high speed. Then, as the rotor goes up, a dog goes under it, so the man tries to pick the animal up. But right at that moment, the rotor comes back down and hits the man hard, sending him to the ground. He ended up at the hospital. What happened here cannot be accurately explained without knowing the backstory, but the sight itself is chilling. It's an amusement park in Sweden, but it can hardly be called a park now. Fire engulfed the whole park, setting amusement rides and other items on fire. At Ball Road, right next door to the park, there was a stabbing incident which left 2 people in very critical condition. The police noticed that one of the victims happened to be a woman, there was a blood trail, and about 150 yards away, a man found who was also brutally stabbed. The case left the police with a lot of confusion and hints as to what had just transpired.
And about 150 yards away, a man was found stabbed. Police tell us that both are in critical condition.
Sometimes the accidents that happen at theme parks are hilarious, but that doesn't make them any less dangerous. In fact, sometimes the most hilarious are the most dangerous. In this video, one can see a swing ride rotating at a high speed, and there are a couple of vehicles parked beside it. As the swing begins to slow down, the seats are level with the red vehicle, and that's the problem. The riders crash into the vehicle one after the other. Did the employees not think it through? Just right in front of Disneyland, a drunk driver hit, ran over, and killed a man. The woman swerved onto the sidewalk and hit the man. The man was immediately rushed to the hospital, but on arrival, he was confirmed to be dead. The woman was later arrested.
A suspected drunk driver slammed into him near Disneyland in Anaheim.
A man who wanted to propose to his girlfriend felt there was no better spot than the dreamy and magical Disneyland. On getting on his knees and presenting the ring to his soon-to-be fiancée, a Disney employee wearing Mickey Mouse ears rushed over. He snatched the ring and told them to go down. The man complained and said he had stolen their moment, which was supposed to be a once-in-a-lifetime moment.
Thought it would be romantic as he dropped to his knee. But suddenly, a Disney employee in Mickey Mouse ears barged in and snatched the ring.
Disney apologized to the couple after they stated that their moment was destroyed. Disney offered them a free weekend at any park that they wanted, but they refused, saying they couldn't get their moment back, and they stated they had no intentions of going back to Disneyland. White Rabbit was caught on camera behaving really badly. Initially, a man was making a video of the rabbit while he was laughing. His first daughter pulled off the tail of the rabbit, and not long after, the man's second daughter did the same.
After one daughter pulls on the tail of the white rabbit, his other daughter, 14-year-old Jocelyn, also takes a turn.
But this time, immediately the rabbit followed her and grabbed her by the neck and arm. The victim stated that the employee in the rabbit costume told her not to ever do it again, or that he was going to call security to tell her stupid friend to stop doing that. While she was screaming, her sister rushed to help her, and they both heard when the rabbit told them some rude words. Again, the same rabbit was seen to have pushed away some little black kids to hug the white and Asian children around him. The behavior was tagged as unprofessional, and the video was taken as evidence to be presented in court.
Immediately, the rabbit follows her. Jocelyn Carlos says the rabbit held her by the arm and neck.
This Disneyland employee went viral on social media for disrespecting and being rude to a family that wanted to buy one of the light figures from her. In the argument, the employee rudely told the family members to go to another cart to get what they wanted. The family members stayed there, exchanging words with her. A family member even stated her intention of breaking the light figures she was selling. Some disturbing moments at theme parks do not involve falling off or crashing, quite the opposite, just like what happened to these two Asian ladies here. The attendant, having made sure they were properly trapped, begins to get the giant swing ready to go for a wild ride. He pushed it back and forth and pulled on a cord. The ride started, but it was a truly unforgettable one. At first, the ladies were all right, and the attendant even ignored them completely. But then someone notices something. The swing isn't slowing down, instead it is picking up speed. Snapping back to reality, the ladies began to complain on top of their voices. The confused attendant didn't know what to do. Another person came and tried to stop the swing, but the controls had gone crazy. One can only hope they were fine. There was a serious confrontation that was captured, and it was between police officers and some individuals who seemed to be arguing with the police officers. After a while, the police officer grabbed one of the Protestants. The Protestant was identified as a known activist. He was later released from custody.
New at 10 video captures the moment Apple Valley police officers arrest a protester outside a home this afternoon.
The well-known roller coaster Space Mountain is rumored to be haunted. People have attested to the fact that they usually see a particular man all the time, who will appear next to them while queuing to hop on the ride, or sometimes gets on the ride and sits in an empty carriage, but he will always disappear before the ride has ended.
He will appear next to them while queuing, and sometimes even sits in an empty carriage beside them during the ride itself.
He is said to have reddish hair and a red face, and he is known as Mr. One Way. The rumor is that he is the ghost of a man who died on the ride in 1970. This footage captures a man beating up an elderly police officer. In the footage, the man was seen trying to hug one of the female Disneyland employees, but she refused as she gently tried to push him off. On sensing that, 3 employees, including the officer, went over to try to separate the man from the female employee as he was holding on to her tight. They begin to talk to him and calm him down, but he is adamant. Immediately he hits the elderly officer. Others rush to hold him off. It's ironic to see a large horse get agitated by a harmless balloon, but in Disneyland, anything can happen. In what looked like a princess parade, a toddler waving to the princess on the horse mistakenly let go of her balloon, which got entangled with the horse's legs. The other member tried to help out, but the horse started becoming unsettled, making the princess's grip on its back harder. At the risk of being in danger, the princess had to jump off the horse's back. Eventually, they were able to get the horse to a calm state. The little girl's mother scolded her as the other Disney guys tried to calm the agitated horse. An employee was seen setting up a dry ice bomb in the park's Toontown area, and that act caused a lot of panic and fright. Due to that, there had to be an immediate evacuation, which lasted about 2 hours. A visitor noticed he held what seemed to be a dangerous device. He was later taken into custody by the police and questioned. $1 million bail was placed on his release. A visitor made a video of her experience in the restroom while at Disneyland. The situation seemed to be like a racial discrimination case. The victim went into the restroom and spoke Spanish to her young son. That's when the whole problem started. The other lady there accused her of speaking Spanish in America, and she stated plainly to the lady that she hates Mexicans. Later on, people gathered themselves in front of the house of the American lady. leading to the arrest of an activist. The despicable and disturbing things that some people do cannot be proved useless caught on camera, like this one right here. A former Disney employee was accused of taking a video up the skirt of a woman, and he confessed that he did it more than 500 times over the past 6 years. The suspect, identified as Jorge Diaz Vega, was charged with video voyeurism.
Up the skirt of a woman. He allegedly told investigators that he did it more than 500 times over the past 6 years.
Some people will do absolutely anything to get what they want. A woman is captured trying to enter Disneyland without paying. Disneyland security caught her jumping over a turnstile. The security officers arrested her after they found her hiding in the Big Thunder Mountain Trail.
Arrested. Disney security say the woman jumped a turnstile at the entrance to get into the park without paying.
Some people decided to spend some time at an amusement park in Oregon, but little did they know that they were about to have an experience of a lifetime. The rotor ride that they were enjoying got stuck at the highest point in the air. One can clearly see in the video how the rotor is neither moving back nor forth. Well, people said they were stuck there for half an hour before being rescued.